came from behind to win game one. This would be game two. Let's go down below. Jessica Blaylock. Jess?
Hey, Rich, we know that D. Gordon is great at stealing bases. He had 2 stolen bags in game one of this doubleheader. He now leads Major League Baseball in that category, meaning that he is going to win the stolen bases crown for the 2nd season in a row. During the break, I had a chance to catch up with Gordon and ask him what that honor means to him.
It means a lot, coming into this year I was a little nervous, not being with Davey Lowe, so, just getting with Bugsy and, getting better on my own, and, it started to work out.
Yelich took a couple of good pitches that he could have swung on to help you steal those bases. How much have you seen your team support you in this quest?
A lot, that's why when I scored I told them thank you and hugged every guy on the offense and pitchers told them thank you. Because it's a big deal.
And what's it mean getting your 200th hit as well, to another milestone?
It was pretty cool. I ain't never done it, so, it's a pretty cool feeling.
To get that out of the way, the 200 hits, is that going to be a relief as you finish the year up?
Just trying to help us win, like I've been trying to do the whole time, but, to have some personal stuff is pretty cool as well.
I think the last time a player has led the National League in both hits and stolen bases, it's like 1908. It's been a long time. Does that even put it in perspective what a big achievement that is?
I didn't know that, so I'm going to have to let that one soak in a little bit.
To be part of a win, too. Does that make it even more?
Yeah, it makes it even more special, to come back the way we did, it makes it even better.
By the way, I also had a chance to talk to Christian Yelich. He said that he had absolutely no problem taking those pitches that allowed D. Gordon to steal those 2 bases. He did tell me, though, that he came over to D in the dugout and said, hey, you owe me a Ferrari for that, and I'm not kidding. Guys?
Well, there they are. And you know what? We've just talked a lot about D. Gordon and what he accomplished in that first game. Tommy, Christian Yelich had quite a first ball game. And these next 2 games, the last 2 games of the season, could be pretty interesting for him.
Well, they could, with Yelich going 5 for 5, first 5-hit game of his career, picked up an RBI, scored a run, but also got his batting average to 298. So Christian Yelich with a shot to get to 300. You see the base hits, an infield base hit into left center. Then he pulls this ball, gets himself a double because he hustled all the way out of the box, goes to left field with hit number 4, and decides to take hit number 5 right back up the middle. So 5 for 5, a 298 batting average right now as he enters game 2.
In game 2, Marlins and Phillies. This is Miami's lineup, J.M. Lexus. Like that headline there? Major League Baseball leader with 200 hits and 58 stolen bases. Christian Yelich is in left. Martin Prado's at third. Justin Bour hits cleanup. Marcell Ozuna, of course, had a big RBI hit in that comeback in the 9th inning. JT Realmuto will do the catching. Ichiro a start in right. Miguel Rojas is out at short. And Justin Nicolino is on the mound.
And there's a look at Alec Asher. We had a chance to see him a little bit in Miami on September 24th. He pitched extremely well. Remember, that was the 1-0 loss. The Marlins were able to score on a JT Realmuto triple in the 7th inning, but 3 hits and a run over his 7 innings of work. And so the Marlins, having seen Alec Asher, will get a chance to see him once again. And I hope, Rich, that Major League Baseball, the shows that you watch later tonight, tell you about D. Gordon. I know the Marlins have won 70 games, they're in 3rd place. But what he has accomplished with the 200 hits, leading the league and the majors in hits and stolen bases, just incredible.
And there's more out there for him to accomplish in these last 2 ball games. Asher delivers a fastball that's up, and it's 1-0. Pinch-A-Penny brings you that first pitch. Gordon, Yelich, Prado for Miami here in the first. And Gordon pulls one. One other mark that he could achieve, and he needs 2 more stolen bases to do it, and that is 200 or more hits, 60 or more stolen bases in a season. There's a bouncer into right field. That's a base hit for Gordon. So D. Gordon leads off with a single to right. 201 and counting, and a little closer to Bryce Harper, who is not playing in that second game of the doubleheader in New York.
We've seen Dee Gordon flip a lot of balls into left field, but when he gets that opportunity to turn on a pitch, pull it, he pulled that one just past the diving first baseman.
So 201 hits, and here's Yelich. Gordon away from first. Yelich into right field. That's a base hit.
Stay hot. Stay hot.
6 for 6 on the day is Christian Yelich. And the Marlins open this first inning with 2 singles.
Well, just attacking, not wasting any time. Not wasting time, not taking a pitch to allow Dee Gordon to steal. Seeing that first one and hitting it hard.
And here is Prado. So Gordon is at second. Yelich is at first. Prado in game 1 had an RBI triple that tied the game in the 9th. Ozuna would knock in the winning run 2 hitters later. And that off-speed pitch is up and in. 82 miles an hour. And it's 1-0 to Prado. You got good speed out there. And a strike. You know, one thing about Gordon, Tommy, 200 or more hits, 60 or more stolen bases. Now, of course, he's a couple away from that. It's happened just 12 times since 1900 by only 5 players. 1-1 in the dirt. Maury Wills, Lou Brock, Willie Wilson, Kenny Lofton, and Juan Pierre. And Gordon's 2 stolen bases away from that.
Well, his 1 for 1 also has him at 331, and Yelich's 1 for 1 has him at 299.
You see that missed? They had that in game 1. That's just another nicety here on a chilly night with winds probably about 25 miles an hour right now. Count 2 balls and 2 strikes. By the way, Yelich is now hitting 299 with that base hit to right. Full count. Be interesting to see if maybe these 2 guys are on the move.
Oh, I'm guessing yes.
Not running. Prado pops it. The wind may keep it in play. And it ends up in the camera well. Phillies defense. A quick check.
Yeah, we'll take a quick check. Brought to you by BMW. Darnell Sweeney's in left. Altair moves into center. Frank Coor is in right field. Michael Franco. Chase Darno had a couple of hits in game 1. Andres Blanco, Darren Ruff, and Cameron Rupp behind the plate.
Prado pops that one up, and you can see the wind just bend it towards the third base side of second. Darno makes the catch there.
Well, it wasn't too long ago we saw Alec Asher. He needs to have a third pitch. He's been working on a third pitch. Came over in that Cole Hamels deal from the Texas Rangers organization. And at 14, he had Tommy John surgery.
Justin Bour. Bour, a late addition to game 1. He came in a double switch and was 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Well, if anybody can hit one out into that wind in the right, Bour is certainly the guy. Change up. Bour thought it was out. That's 0-1.
Justin Bour with those 71 RBIs. Club leader in that department.
Asher figures he'd pick at that corner again, and he misses. Flags have been active and moving all night long. Gordon back to second. D. Gordon, Christian Yelich with base hits to open up the ball game here. Second of 2 in the doubleheader. In game 1, Gordon was 2 for 5. Yelich was 5 for 5. And Justin Bour swings and misses. Another changeup off speed from Asher. There's Ozuna.
Big hit for Marcell Ozuna. 2 hits in game 1.
That pitch is in.
Yeah, after 3 changeups that just moved away, Asher ran a fastball in.
See Real Muto in the hole, so to speak. It means 2 hitters away. Bour stays alive. The count's 2-2. Kerwin Danley, by the way, is the home plate umpire. DJ Rayburn, Rob Drake, and Stu Schuerwater. There are 2 different umpires from game 1. Joe West worked home plate. Bour cracks it. Center field, deep, out there, can't get it, and it goes to the wall. Gordon with Yelich right on his tail. They'll both come home. Gordon scores, Yelich scores, and Bour makes it 2-0 Miami. How about that?
We talked about power, and if anybody with power could turn the win around, it would be Justin Bour. Picks up his 19th double. There's a pitch up and out over the plate. Center fielder Altair playing a little in and also shading a little to right center, and that ball got over his head because it was hit so hard by Bour.
Here's Ozuna. So 2-0 Miami against Alec Asher. Ozuna swings and misses. The Marlins not only came back to win game 1, but they did it against a guy that was having a really nice 2 months as a closer, and that's Ken Giles. Ozuna's base hit to left off of Giles gave Miami the lead. This pop-up will hang up, and Ruff, foul territory, makes the catch.
Rich, I'll tell you the other amazing thing about the win in the first game. It's only the 3rd win this season when the Marlins were trailing after 8 innings. They entered that inning, that 9th inning, having been 2-84 in that situation.
That adds to it for sure. Now Real Muto got to comfortably watch game 1, stay warm. Jeff Mathis homered in that ball game. Nice strike to JT. Now Mathis is all bundled up. Muto going without sleeves. Real men don't wear sleeves, Hut, or is it? How does that work?
I'm not sure if that's how it goes.
2-1. So the nighttime East Coast games are underway. The Nationals and Mets are already in the bottom of the 5th, scoreless. Max Scherzer's not giving up a hit. There's a bouncer to the left side, long throw, and safe at first is Real Muto. Infield hit, and that'll get an at-bat for Ichiro.
You know, it was actually, I don't know if he did it intentionally, but it was actually a good job by Justin Bohr at second base with 2 out to not run, because if he runs, the only play d'Arnaud has is probably on him at third base.
That's a great point.
So a good job on his part.
Number 51, right fielder, Ichiro.
So here's Ichiro. Ichiro bounced to short in a pinch hitting at bat in game 1. Ichiro's 65 hits away from 3,000. And you know, he still is a couple of stolen bases shy of 500. He's been sitting at 498 for a while.
I was trying to figure things out, and you say 65 hits. That would probably take Ichiro at the pace he's been going. 250, 260 at bats when you look at it that way.
Center field. And Altair makes the catch, but Miami has a quick lead. Couple hits right out of the chute for Gordon and Yelich, and Justin Bohr drives them both home with a long double to center. Let's go places. By Checkers, Epic Meals, Epic Deals. And by Auto Nation. Save on over 70,000 vehicles now. Visit us online at AutoNation.com. City of Brotherly Love is cold, and I mean cold tonight, as Andres Blanco gets set to go for the Phils. Here come the Phils. It's brought to you by JM Lexus. The lineup with Blanco in the leadoff spot. Aaron Altair is in left. Raquel Franco gets a start. He's been out for a while with an injury. Darren Ruff is at first base. Jeff Francoeur has hurt the Fish. 4 homers against the Marlins this year. Cameron Rupp, Darnell Sweeney, Chase d'Arnaud, brother of the Mets catcher and Alec Asher. Justin Nicolino, he's the other 23-year-old from the state of Florida starting in this ball game. Alec Asher from Lakeland, Nicolino from Orlando. You see the season that he's put together.
Very solid. It's been fun watching his progress. First start here in this ballpark, but he had a good start against the Phillies back in Miami back in late August. 7 2/3, gave up just 5 hits, a couple of runs. Nicolino has reached 182 innings if you combine his AAA numbers and Major League numbers.
Blanco is a switch hitter. Came in and played some of that first game. Pops this one up. Bohr with help from Gordon. It always helps to have help from D. Gordon. Miami defensively is brought to you by BMW.
Now we'll take a look. Christian Yelich and Ozuna and Ichiro fill out the outfield. Martin Prado, Miguel Rojas in the lineup for game 2. D. Gordon at second. Justin Bohr has already come up big. And JT Realmuto behind the plate.
Altair takes a strike. Marlins with the win now have 70 wins. Altair to left, pretty well hit. That's Yelich. And he runs it down and makes the catch.
Keep in mind the Phillies trying to keep from losing 100 games. The loss for them in game 1 was loss number 98.
The Phillies came into this 3-game series, and this is game 2 of it, just wanting to, at the very least, get 1 win, and that would keep them away from 100. Here's Franco. Nicolino with the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Justin Nicolino is not a guy that misses a lot of bats in terms of strikeouts and swings and misses, but he is a guy that gets a lot of ugly contact.
Well, good change up there. But that's why there's one number you want to see him bring down a little bit. He's not going to strike guys out, and he's probably going to give up more hits than innings pitched. All of that's okay if you don't walk too many.
Rojas around it, throwing on the run. Outs at first base. Bang, bang with a pick and a beauty by Justin Bohr.
They may take a look at this one.
And so the Marlins will linger. Our first look, back of glove. I think he got him. He stepped on the bag on the top of the base.
Boy, that's a nice pick by Justin Bohr.
I don't know that there's evidence to overturn. Ooh, wow. And it's first inning, too. I don't think they're going to challenge it. Not in the first inning. 2-0 Miami. Top of the second. Game 2 of a doubleheader. And the fans that have been here and hung out certainly deserve a lot of credit on a real chilly, windy, and wet night. Alec Asher misses up and in to Miguel Rojas. Blankets, umbrellas, ponchos, snuggies,
long johns,
tarps, Patagonia.
Little cuddling helps.
Well, that always helps, Hut. Fanatic hats.
Don't get so close.
There they are. The Fanatic hats have been outstanding. In fact, if that vendor walked right below us, I'd be tempted to purchase a pair. Although I don't know if they would fit over the headset.
No, it'd be a tough fit. But we did see the Fanatic here for Game 2.
That's breaking news. The Fanatic was apparently at another function in the afternoon.
Well, the 4 o'clock start, it kind of turned his day around.
He had already been booked. Can you imagine the Fanatic at a party? I mean, like a real party? As fun as he is on the field. And
not like a kid's party, just a regular party.
Well, both, really. I mean, I can imagine him at both. To be honest with you, Darno makes the throw, and Rojas is out. He will not, however, be at the Taste of Miami, but some great food will be there. Billy will be there, of course. It's February 18th at Marlins Park. Marlins players, celebrity chefs, and a variety of different flavors and cultures from Miami's top restaurants, wineries, and breweries. Taste of Miami. Reserve your spot, 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/taste. Here is Nicolino.
Really enjoy watching Nicolino, the way he carries himself, prepares for each start. It was kind of hard to put that in my head when I saw him in his Baywatch outfit. But both the two young lefties both do a great job in getting ready for their starts. Adam Conley and Justin Nicolino.
Nicolino strikes out. And here comes D. Gordon. There should be an app for your iPhone or your whatever phone you got, your Droid, that you could download, sort of the D. Gordon app. So when he's coming to the plate in these last 2 games, it gives you a little alarm and then immediately pops you into MLB TV. A bunt, third base side. D. Gordon's got another hit. Outstanding. 2 for 2 is Gordon. A 2-out bunt single. And Franco never had a chance.
Yeah, Franco picks this ball cleanly and makes a throw. He doesn't come close to getting D. Gordon. Great job. Beautiful bunt.
Remember, Bryce Harper was 1 for 3 in the first game of a doubleheader. That one was a homer, a 2-run homer. He's not in the lineup for game 2, and he's hitting at .331. D. Gordon is now hitting .332.
And Christian Yelich just kind of settles in to his at bat, having put together 6 consecutive hits. 5 for 5 the first game, 1 for 1 here in this one.
So Yelich just a tick under 300. Gordon, if you weren't with us in game 1, swiped 2 bags. He is at 58, and he will be the National League stolen base champ.
I thought it was great in between games, his comment to Jessica about the fact that he led the league in stolen bases last year, but came here and didn't have Davey Lopes with him, but was able to hook up with Bugsy, Brett Butler.
There it is, as we just noted. D. Gordon on the diometer, 332. Bryce Harper, 331. And now Yelich at 3-1. One of the things Yelich has going for him in this late surge is his plate discipline. He's a guy that is selective, knows the strike zone quite well. Yelich into right field. That's another hit, and it's going to the wall. And D. Gordon is motoring around third. Francoeur bobbles. Gordon on his way home. He will score. A double for Yelich. 7 hits on the day for Christian Yelich. Hello, 300.
And hello, double number 30 on the year. Wow. Everything he's seeing, he puts a great swing on it, whether it's into left center, whether it's right center, or in this case, down the line. A little bit of bobble. It was a good look by Lenny Harris, coaching at third. Once he saw that little bobble, he waved D. Gordon all the way in.
3-0 Miami. 3-0-1 for Yelich. Prado popped out in his only at bat. So Gordon's 2 for 2. Yelich is 2 for 2. And a strike to Prado. You know, in addition to the hits, Yelich's last at bat in St. Pete, he walked, so he's been on base in 8 consecutive at bats. Prado, a high chopper. Franco across the diamond in time to get the out. But Miami gets another run. Gordon and Yelich each get another hit. 3-0. More hits for Christian Yelich. Gordon now the average leader in the National League, and Yelich is now over 300. Dolphin fans, make sure you're up at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Catch the live 90-minute Phinsiders pregame show, previewing the Dolphins and the Jets from London town. Special show tomorrow, 8 a.m. only on Fox Sports Florida. Darren Ruff. Justin Nicolino throws a strike. The mist is still present. The wind is still pushing it in just about everybody's face. And Nicolino's got himself a 3-0 lead with Ruff, Francoeur, and Rupp.
Yeah, I'll go.
That's a pitch on a night like tonight. Right-handed hitters don't like that good cutter that Nicolino has. Runs in on their hands. They'll get a little stinging sensation. So then they'll try to cheat a little bit on it, and he'll go away with a changeup.
And that is a nice follow-up. A gorgeous changeup. We check in with Jessica Blaylock. Staying warm, Jess?
Yeah, trying to. Rich, this is Justin Nicolino's last start of the season. And for Dan Jennings, he feels that Nico has shown his ability to pitch on this level. They always knew that he was close to being a big league guy, but now he's finally had the chance to prove that his stuff is good enough. He's not going to necessarily be a high strikeout guy, but he's going to get you the outs when he needs to. And for Nicolino himself, he says that his confidence has improved on the mound every game, and he's excited that he was able to get one more start in before the end of the season.
Yeah, for the young starters, and Adam Conley tomorrow as well, guys that have not pitched into September like this. This is always uncharted territory, and you love to see him finish strong.
Yeah, and for Nicolino, as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, he's at 182, so 184 innings, right around there. It's a good number for him to build off of as he goes into next year.
Yeah, and there's a nice two-hopper to Prado for the out off the bat of Francoeur. And that's the important thing, Tommy, is you get to next year, and you got a guy like Nicolino, and it's not like, well, you know what? We don't want to jump him from 140 to 180, so we have to be careful with him. If you've made the progression in the minor leagues up into that 170, 180 range, then you can run him out there if all is well and he pitches well for hopefully 30 to 31, 32 starts. Cameron Rupp. Rupp doing the catching here in game 2 of this doubleheader. Miami had a 4-0 lead in the first game. Rojas. This is Justin Nicolino, what he does well. That's a ground ball out and a quick second inning. Top right telecast presented by the authority of the Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Counts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. You see a little drizzle there in that live shot of Philadelphia. It's windy, it's wet, and Alec Asher is out of the ballgame. Bob McClure, the pitching coach for the Phillies, talking to Asher.
You know, you wonder if they just weren't pleased at the way he threw. Obviously, he didn't throw well, 6 hits and 3 runs in 2 innings, but there's still time for him. We saw the veteran Aaron Harang turn it around in that first game, but on the other hand, there may be some slight injury they're dealing with too. It is not our job. It is not our job, Rich, to speculate.
I was just going to throw another scenario out there, but now that you told me it's not our job, it scared me away.
Don't hold back.
Here's Justin Bohr with Marcell Ozuna and JT Realmuto. And Bohr looked like he went, but the third base umpire, Stu Schlurwater, said no. Count 2-1. Strike. Bohr blasted one to center, and without this wind out into center, that ball probably would have sailed out of here and ended up on the track and off the wall, and it was a double, and it drove in 2, and Bohr walks to open up the third inning. Justin DeFreitas probably had no inkling he'd be in this game in the third. Marcell Ozuna is up. There was a pair of perfect games going tonight. Now there's simply a no-hitter and a perfect game. In the top of the 7th, Washington leads the Mets 1-0. Max Scherzer has struck out 9 in 6 innings. The Mets don't have a hit. Matt Harvey ended up going 6 innings, 4 hits, a run. It was unearned. So Harvey threw well tonight. If you're a Mets fan, you have to be happy with both Noah Syndergaard and Matt Harvey, who threw well tonight.
But, Rich, you have to realize.
Right field, wind is going to keep it around.
You have to realize, Rich, Mets fans are never happy. Right now, they're happy with their pitching, but their offense has all of a sudden gone stale.
I'll give you that one. Now, Kyle Hendricks, not former Philly Kyle Kendrick, but Kyle Hendricks of the Cubs, has gone 5 perfect innings in Milwaukee. He has struck out 7. And the Cubs have provided him with the run. It's 1-0 there. If you're just straggling in or just have been watching football all day, the Mets lost the first game of the doubleheader. The Angels had the biggest win maybe of their season, as they were down 4 in the 9th in Texas and scored 5 times to win it 11-10. The Angels did. That one in the air behind short. Darno gives way. Sweeney makes the catch. What it does, essentially, it keeps Texas from clinching, and it keeps the Angels right on the tail of the Astros. Of course, Houston tonight is back in Arizona, where they scored a bazillion runs last night. Houston has a 1-0 lead already in Phoenix in the bottom of the 2nd.
And by the way, just to give you confirmation, the Mets have scored just 1 run in their last 32 innings.
Did you get that from a Mets fan?
From one of our Mets inside crack staffers. By the way, though, the other part of it, they're happy because Cespedes is back in the lineup. He was in game 1.
Ichiro is up. He's flied out, 0 for 2 on the day. 0 for 1 in this game. What else can I tell you about baseball tonight? Oh, yeah, the Dodgers. The Dodgers are scoreless against San Diego. Dodgers are happy that the Nationals won that first game over the Mets because now they have a game lead over the Mets for home field advantage in the first round of the postseason. Ichiro, little pop. The wind is going to play tricks with that. But Altair gets there and makes the catch. Miami leaves a runner. It's 3-0. Citizens Bank Park. Michael Hill, Marlins president of baseball operations, will join us in the fourth. And it's that time of year where you start to wrap up 2015 and look towards 2016. Tomorrow is the last game of the season. Preston Wilson will join me tomorrow for that game. Tommy Hutton has an appointment to make tomorrow. Very important one.
It's a great appointment. It's my granddaughter Layla's first birthday. So I'll be having cake about the third inning.
Yes, you will. Just make sure you text us when that happens.
I will.
Send us a photo. Darnell Sweeney is up. Nicolino with the breaking ball that's high. Chase Darno and the pitcher spot. And, of course, that pitcher spot was Alec Asher, but he was yanked after 2 innings.
Hey, Nicolino is on target with the cutter. That fastball's been moving inside. He's used his changeup really well, and that's how he pitches.
It's a tough night for fans to try to barehand a ball. I mean, instinct will take you there. Guy that just dropped it, that one back in his section. But that one with a glove.
Notice the guy without the glove let him have it. Kind of backed off.
That's smart.
Good communication. I'm guessing father, son.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And I think Dad
knows best.
Dad's instincts first were to go for the ball, then realize son had the glove.
Yeah, he's got the glove.
Big moment for son. Let son catch it, and then text the wife at home.
He's going through the whole thing. This is what I did. You let me have it.
Prado cuts that one off, flips it to first. Nice pick by Bohr. And Sweeney is the first out of the third inning. So Michael Hill is here. Not yet, but in the fourth. There's lots to talk about. Certainly a recap of 2015. The managerial search was a few weeks back, inviting Dan Jennings back up into the front office.
Michael, as he always does so well, will insert a little play-by-play.
Chase Darno, who had a triple. Darno, a guy that plays both in the infield and the outfield. It sounded like they got a piece of the home plate umpire. Pepperdine University is where Darno played his college ball. The Waves, in one of the most beautiful settings for college baseball you will ever find.
Dan Herron.
Dan Herron.
Randy Wolf.
That's right. Nicolino. A lot of ugly contact, which is how he thrives. So there's 2 outs. Fish Family Select a Seat coming up on Saturday, October 17th at Marlins Park. 2016 Marlins season ticket deposit gets you there, and you can pick out your seat on the 17th. That also allows you access to the 2017 All-Star Game at Marlins Park. 1877 Marlins. Marlins.com/tickets. A lot of ugly contact from Justin Nicolino. And he faces the minimum through 3. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Whip around Philly and you might get frostbite because it's chilly and wet and windy, but fun night for the Fish. The Marlins up here 3-0. Miami came from behind and won Game 1 of this doubleheader, and the president of baseball operations bravely comes out of the warm press box.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
There's more than enough wind whipping around, that's for sure.
Into the television booth. How are you, Michael?
It's a bit chilly, to say the least.
But not bothering Dee Gordon and Christian Yelich.
No, it's great to see the guys still fighting hard. I mean, that's what you want to see in September in a year that, where expectations fell a little short. To see the guys still playing hard and doing everything in their power to help us win ball games.
Yeah, Yelich, in case you've just joined us, has 7 hits tonight. 5 for 5 in the first game, 2 for 2 here. D. Gordon has passed Bryce Harper. He's at 332. Harper's at 331. Yelich is actually over 300 now. He is at 301.
And just given where Christian started the season and with the back injuries and the struggles that he had early in the year, it just speaks to the type of player that he is and what he's capable of doing when he is healthy and 100%.
Miguel Rojas fouls it off. Rojas hitting here, Nicolino, and then Gordon again in the 4th. And a very nice win in game 1. It gets you guys to 70 wins. Chance to pick up number 71 here in the second game. So, where should we start? Let's start with 2015. Through all of the tumult and the struggles in the early part of the season, mid part of the season, you guys have the second best record in baseball since the 31st of August. Rojas, a high chopper. Franco cuts it off. What do you take from the last 2 months that you can use and push forward into 2016? And what do you take from the struggles as well?
Well, I think the one thing that we've always believed in is just the core talent on this team. And I think you see it on display with D. Gordon and with Yelich, and you get to see the emergence of other players. And I think that's the biggest thing we take away from the second half of the season is just the emergence of other players. JT Realmuto behind home plate, Justin Bour showing lots of good things at first base from a pitching standpoint. And I think that's where we got to answer a lot of questions with all the injuries that we've had with our starting pitching. You've gotten to see the emergence of a Justin Nicolino, of an Adam Conley. You move to the bullpen and the Kyle Barraclaws and Brian Ellingtons of the world, all given opportunities, and they've all taken advantage of those opportunities and shown us that they want to be a part of the plan in 2016.
Michael, a guy who's impressed us also is with the job, unfortunately, with the injury to Danny Echeverria, has been Miguel Rojas, too.
Definitely. And when we traded for Miguel, he was always known as a glove-first player and had his challenges offensively. But I think we got to see him grow as a player and really open some eyes to what he can do when given an opportunity.
Well, here's D. Gordon, and what a fun year it's been to be around D. Gordon, who's blown right past 200 hits. Takes a pitch down low. The diameter, and we've had it for a week, and he's back on top of
the crack staff came up with that.
I love it.
He's on top of Harper at 332. He's on top of Hamilton with 58 stolen bases. That's not going to change. Hamilton's out for the year. Gordon pulls that one to first, and the Phillies get him out. And a 1-2-3 inning. Michael Hill rejoins us when we get to the bottom of the 4th. In Philly, 3-0, Miami. doubleheader. 3-0. Marlins on top of the Phillies here. Rich Waltz, Michael Hill, President of Baseball Operations, along with Tommy Hutton. We welcome you back to Philadelphia. Now let's turn our attention to 2016. Let's start with the managerial spot. I know that you guys have invited Dan Jennings back into the front office. As you take a look at the field of candidates, what are you looking for, and what are you hoping to accomplish with the hiring of a manager?
I think we're just looking for that leader to take this club over the hump.
Ozuna and Yelich will wrestle for it, and Ozuna wins.
You know, you look, and I say it a lot, but you look at the core that we've assembled and the young players who have gotten to the big leagues and had their struggles and rebounded from their struggles and are truly establishing who they will be in the big leagues. Now it's time for us to take that next step, and I think we've said that, and that's what we were hoping to do this year, was to take that next step and really get over the hump. And obviously there's been underperformance, there's been injury that have contributed to this year's season, but there's still belief and confidence, as I said, in the core position players here. We know we have work to do in improving the roster, and we're ready for that. And it starts, you know, with getting the leader, you know, in the dugout, and you know, without knowing who that will be, we know that we're looking for a leader of men and someone who's going to help this core that we've assembled take that next step. And because we've seen the talent, we believe in the talent. We've been one of the best teams in baseball the latter part of the season here, and at times we've been without all of our horses on the field. We've been able to compete and win ball games, and we'll get healthy and we'll add to this roster. We'll find the right guy in the dugout, and we'll get where we want to be.
So take that to the next. You get the manager squared away. You've talked about, and we see the terrific core of players. Not only do we see it, we hear other coaches, managers, broadcasters come up to us and tell us all the time. What do you need to add to that core?
Well, position player-wise, I think we like what we've been able to assemble. I think for you to really take it to the next level, you need to solidify and upgrade wherever you can in that starting rotation. And we have a healthy Jose, so we couldn't be happier with where we are with Jose. But you know, beyond Jose, we had pitchers that, you know.
Center field, deep, Ozuna, and it's gone. And Kyle Franco, his first start after battling an injury, he did get a pinch hitting appearance in game one, and he blasts one out to center into the wind. That's an impressive shot.
Yeah, we have not seen a lot of Franco because of that injury hit on the wrist, but he is their third baseman of the future. Let's watch where JT is set up, down, away, the breaking ball. That's probably his third pitch for Nicolino. He uses the cutter changeup. That looked like the breaking ball that he hung up in the zone.
You were interrupted right in the starting rotation after Jose.
No, just you know, after Jose, you know, Kohler has been a solid performer for, you know, the back end of our rotation, and we need to fill in front, and we need to make sure that we get as much depth and quality starting pitching to settle in behind Jose and hopefully lead, you know, this team every day and giving us an opportunity to win a ball game.
The wild card for me is Henderson Alvarez, because the need seems to be a number 2 or 3 starter, and Alvarez to me is one of those guys. He's got that type of stuff. Where is he health-wise? Where do you expect him to be in spring training?
Well, that is one that we will have to continue to monitor. Obviously, he had the shoulder surgery, and he's still in no-throw. The surgery was in July. He's no-throw for 5 months, so he won't even pick up a ball until mid-December, early January. So we'll just continue to watch him and see where he is at. I do agree that a healthy Henderson slides in perfectly behind Jose, but we need to get him healthy and feel that he will, you know, be a contributing factor to that rotation. So in absence of Henderson, we need to, either through trade or or through free agency or through waiver claim. However, we need to identify whomever that pitcher is to fit in and help carry the load at the front of that rotation.
This is Darren Ruff, a 3-2 pitch. Check swing, little tapper. And Nicolino gets to the bat. Boy, that was quick.
Yeah.
We got out. It's only one home run, so I'll apologize for that one.
That's all right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Michael, good luck in the offseason.
Stay warm up here.
Yeah, we will.
Christian Yelich has 7 hits tonight in 7 at-bats, and he's coming up as Miami leads the Phillies 3-1. Justin DeFreitas into the windup. Yelich trying to set down a bunt. Fouls it at the plate. Toyota trend. Most consecutive plate appearances with a hit. Preston Wilson, 8. How about that? Preston is in the house. He'll be on Marlins Live, so he could talk about that run of his in 2001. But Yelich tied with Cameron Maybin and Gary Sheffield. Yelich 2 for 2, an RBI double his last time up. That was against Alec Asher. We still haven't received any word as to why Asher was lifted after 2. This is Justin DeFreitas pitching here into the 5th.
Well, we have talked about it, Rich, the job that Yelich has done since Giancarlo went down with his injury. And in the 70 games since that time, a 358 average, 95 base hits.
Yelich takes out, evens the count at 2-2.
25 doubles in those 70 games.
Yelich's average is all the way up to 301. He started the day at 290. That's what 7 for 7 will get you. Actually, it's amazing, and obviously it's the end of the season. Tomorrow's the last game. That you can go 7 for 7 and only raise your average 11 points.
That's pretty amazing, though. The 7 hits, the most by a Marlin in a doubleheader.
Prado and Bohr also coming up here in the 5th. Yelich, a ground ball in the hole at short. Darno bobbles, and Yelich across first. It could be a hit, and we'll see. Yelich has excellent speed. Darno double clutched it and then got rid of it.
Well, I think you have to factor this in, the fact that he does have good speed. Darno has to try to rush it, and because he tries to rush it,
he's so far past first.
Yeah, it's not even close. I don't think there's a question as to whether this is a hit or an error. Base hit all the way, in my opinion. We'll see what the scorer thinks. It's a base hit.
Prado takes in
8 for 8.
Wow.
8 for 8.
On the day. This is the second game of a doubleheader. 5 for 5 in the first game, 3 for 3 here. And that ties a Marlins record for hits in consecutive plate appearances. And it ties a Marlin who will be on Marlins Live with Jessica Blaylock, and that's Preston Wilson. Hits in a doubleheader. Cody Ross at 6. So what a night it's been for Gordon and for Yelich. And the other thing here, as Yelich has pushed himself over 300. He's at 302 now. So he has 8 hits, and his average has moved up 12 points. Martin Prado walks, and he's aboard. And here is Justin Bour. And Bour's been on twice tonight. He was the first man to face DeFreitas in the third. Bour, 2-run double and a walk. Seven hits for the Marlins to go with their 3 runs.
Boy, Justin Bour with those 2 RBIs, 73 RBIs this year.
Strike. Anytime Bour kind of cranks the neck a little bit, moves the head like that, he's not happy with the call. He hasn't gotten to the point of really engaging an umpire. He's of course, a rookie. That'll come.
You know what? I don't think he will, though. Really? I think he'll always have that demeanor. He'll just kind of cock the head a little bit.
Yeah, pitch number 2 was the one that was called a strike. He thought it was in.
You know, he's got that dry sense of humor.
Bour strikes out on a breaking ball. So DeFreitas gets a strikeout. It's his second of the night, and here comes Marcell Ozuna. Last we checked, the Mets were having trouble with Max Scherzer.
A whole lot of trouble.
And in the 9th inning, top of the 9th, with the Nationals hitting, he has a no-hitter. Mets don't have a hit.
That's not the whole story. First of all, he's only thrown 93 pitches to get through 8 innings and has 15 strikeouts.
That's not the whole story.
What's the rest of it, Rich?
He warmed up in a hotel hallway yesterday just to stay loose. He was rained out. Ozuna into center field. That's a base hit. Yelich racing around third, and he's going to score. And Ozuna has another RBI single. Miami rebuilds the lead to 3. It's 4-1.
So he could truly throw a no-hitter and just say then that I spent the night at a Holiday Inn.
I don't think that's where the Nationals stay in New York, Tommy.
I don't think so. There's more good swings from Marcell Ozuna.
fact, I believe if you can find Scherzer's Twitter account, he tweeted a photo of the hallway, or I don't know if it was actually a hallway or a ballroom or some place where he found a place just to throw yesterday because they were rained out. Scherzer's going out in the bottom of the ninth.
An 8-game hitting streak now for Marcell Ozuna.
Meanwhile, Milwaukee broke up the perfect game of Kyle Hendricks. It's 1-0 Cubs, top 8. Milwaukee has a hit, and that's it. Yeah, Ozuna, as Real Muto pulls it foul. Ozuna in the first game had 2 hits. He was 2 for 5. And so he's had that really nice run over the last 11 games. He's reached base in all 11, and his batting average up around 370. The 1-1. That's a liner on a hop out there, and that's a double play. Can't hit it a whole lot harder than Real Muto did. Blanco to d'Arnaud to Ruff. Miami gets a run and leads it 4-1.
Gone! Ball game! Miami walks off on the Padres. And Almeida walked off big time with a 3-run shot.
Welcome back to Philadelphia. It's game 2 of a doubleheader here at Citizens Bank Park. The Marlins leading it 4-1. Well, whether it was some walk-off wins or some monster home runs, there have been some great moments from this past season. Tomorrow we're going to highlight some of the players' favorite memories, but we also want to hear from you. We're almost going to treat it like a Twitter Email Tuesday, so be sure to send us your tweets and emails of your favorite moments from this season using the hashtag Marlins Moments. And guys, I had a chance to talk to Dan Jennings in our pregame show, and he pointed out a few. How about that monster home run from Giancarlo Stanton at Dodger Stadium, or Dee Gordon's inside the park home run from earlier this year?
How about Christian Yelich's Saturday in Philly?
Do we still have time to get that one in?
Yelich is 8 for 8 today, and has climbed his average up to 302. Dee Gordon, of course, has blasted right through the 200 hit mark, and Frank Coor punches one into right field. Tommy Hudden, your favorite moment right here.
Yeah, I thought just the entire build-up that we all knew from Tommy John surgery, coming back, Jose's first start back, that afternoon game, just electric to see the crowd's reaction, to see his reaction, and then at the plate, what did he do? He hit a home run too, just to top it off.
Cameron Rupp. And Nicolino misses. Check swing did not go. Rupp, Darnell Sweeney, And then d'Arnaud after a leadoff hit from Francoeur. Justin Nicolino into the 5th has given up a run on 2 hits. That one fouled back. 1-1. And since, Tommy, this is your last game of the season, it's appropriate that you were able to bring us your favorite memory of the year.
Well, I appreciate that. Also appreciate
and I'm surprised that it wasn't an Italian dinner that you had somewhere.
Well, we've talked about that. Those are off nights, which are rare.
Here's a 1-1. It's out.
But my thanks, as always, to you, Rich, for a great year, to our crack staff, John Sulzer, to Gary Nicholas, Kenny Lee, Bill Wadelick, all the guys in the truck. Just they carry us and make us look good. But, you know, we had our struggles early in the year, but I think it's been fun watching this group come together and play the way they have. We had a chance to talk to Michael Hill about that. The core of this ball club is a solid core. There's no question about it. So that's been fun.
It has been our 11th season together.
It's amazing.
That is.
It's amazing.
Especially in this day and age. Here is Sweeney. And he takes a breaking ball down low. Justin Nicolino touched for a home run. Miguel Franco homering in the 4th. And that's it. Another hit to right field, this time by Sweeney. Geico's MLB moments. Hang in there. It'll arrive shortly. There's d'Arnaud. Sometimes, Tommy, you get a little bad hot.
It happens.
You got to knock it down and stay with it. Center field. Ozuna makes the catch, and the inning is over. 4-1. Miami on top. In Philadelphia. As promised, the Geico moment. Oh, look, Tommy Hutton. 2004, this date. The Expos era in Montreal ends after 36 years. Of course, Dave Van Horn, the Hall of Fame broadcaster, made his mark in Montreal, then moved to Miami. Montreal would go to D.C. in 2005. Now, the one thing you'll notice about that shot is their windows are closed. First ball game Dave Van Horn and Glenn Geffner had the windows open.
And we were commending them on their
look at those
old school approach.
Geff even took his coat off.
Look, the coat is off. I think, yeah.
The engineer isn't even wearing a sweater.
It's warm. You and I go in there between innings just to warm up a little bit.
And here we are with our windows wide open. Carly Lloyd, U.S. soccer star, hat trick in World Cup action. She had a hat trick in the championship game against Japan. The fanatic watching as she fed some soccer ball souvenirs into the seats. Ichiro. Alexei Ogando. Or excuse me, Nefi Ogando. Ichiro fouls it back. Ogando becomes pitcher number 3 on the night for the Phils.
Marcelo Zuna looking on, swinging it. He's getting his batting average up too. And we've talked certainly about D. Gordon and Christian Yelich, but Marcelo Zuna with his last base hit up to 259, so he's closing in on 260.
1-2 to Ichiro. And a foul tip out of the glove of Cameron Rupp. Max Scherzer throws another no-hitter.
Wow.
And so he throws 2 this season. And remember, the last no-hitter he threw came after a one-hitter. So he narrowly missed 3 no-hitters in a season.
And in this one, 17 strikeouts.
Yikes. Ichiro pops out, and for Ichiro, he's 0 for 3.
Before the last out of the game, it was a Granderson pop fly. Prior to that, you talk about finishing strong. Scherzer had struck out 9 straight.
Here is Rojas. Nefi Ogando is 25 out of the Dominican Republic, 6'2", 218. His bio does not say anything about being related to Alexei Ogando, who has some nasty stuff. Came up in the Red Sox organization. Was traded to the Phillies in 2013. For John McDonald. Rojas. Darno throws him out. This will warm you up, Tommy.
All right.
With your open window here. And that is winter warm-up.
That looks good.
February 20th. Single game tickets are available. Single seats for season ticket plans as well. Player autographs, activities for the entire family. Marlins.com for information on winter warm-up, February 20th.
I'm booking your room right about that time.
Nicolino is 0 for 2. He has struck out twice. And Ogando right out in front of him, 0 and 2.
Thing that Nicolino has been tremendous at tonight. Pitch count, 53 pitches through his 5 innings of work.
Lil Tapper. Franco makes the play. Nicolino is out. 1, 2, 3 go the Fish. Bottom of the 6th coming up in Philly. It's 4-1 Miami. In honor of Max Scherzer's no-hitter, his second of the season, here's a Coors timeless moment from Washington, D.C.
The president's race a moment ago had no chance whatsoever. How many times has he been knocked down? That's a facsimile of the Philly fanatic who just lost his beak. And here comes Teddy, accompanied by the fanatic. Or at least a facsimile thereof. It's history. It is history.
Game winless streak, and the tie there was the Philly fanatic helped him do it.
And the terrific play-by-play from our good friend Bob Carpenter.
Carlos Ruiz is going to come to the plate. I think for Carlos Ruiz, the memories are still pretty good, though the season has not been great. He has another year left on his contract. Phillies have to decide whether or not they want to have him here next year. They will be paying him one way or the other.
Well, they've gotten a good look at Cameron Rupp this year. You would assume he would still be here, so you know they'd work at that tandem. Those are decisions Pete Buchanan is going to have to make, along with the organization. But you talk to people around the Phillies with the taking over a little bit with Andy McPhail and his baseball background. It seems like they are approaching things with a plan, and that's what you have to start with. But when you look at the Phillies and what they have as far as a core, and then you look at what the Marlins have as far as what they have, to me it's not even close. So their plan should take them longer.
Ruiz, shallow left. Yelich charges on and makes the catch.
I mean, the Phillies would love to have an outfield of Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton. They would love to have a Prado. I know they have a Michael Franco. They feel good about their third base position. Echeverria, D. Gordon up the middle. They'd love to have that.
Which reinforces the disappointment of 2015. The injuries and the struggles. I mean, I think the struggles came probably before the injuries. And the urgency of getting the pieces in place for next season. As that core gets another year older, and you would hope another year better. That one fouled at the plate.
In the meantime, Nicolino just continues to throw strikes, change speeds. Really, he's worked the cutter in, change ups away. That's been what he's done a lot of tonight. That ball hit well.
And that's going to get up into the alley, all the way to the wall. Andres Blanco has a double. A one-out double here in the bottom of the sixth.
I think one of the interesting numbers on Nicolino is that coming into this game, he's pitched better on the road. 3-1 on the road with a 3.30 ERA, 1-3 at home. I think that's a small size, though, sample size. I think unless you see 4 or 5 years of that from a pitcher, I don't think you can really put much into it.
Aaron Altair now. His flied out, popped out. Ichiro streaks on and makes the catch. The no-hitter aside, and certainly that's pretty darn impressive. Max Scherzer has thrown 2 this year. The no-hitter aside, the Mets losing 2 to the Nationals, a real blow to trying to get home field over the Dodgers, who are playing tonight, leading San Diego 1-0 in the third. Pitch Family is the exclusive loyalty program of Marlin fans. Marlins 2015 is tonight's code. Log on to marlins.com/fishfamily. So it looks like the Dodgers will open at home against the Mets in that division series.
So the Mets, just think about it, their struggles offensively, we pointed that out a couple of innings ago. Will get to go out in the twilight and face Kershaw and Greinke.
I think the Dodgers still need to win one of those games. They're up 1-0 in the third. So the Dodgers still have to beat the Padres. And the Mets play again tomorrow as well. And off the end of the bat, Franco dumps it into right. And that's going to chase home Blanco. And so the Phillies have their second run, and they cut Miami's lead down to 2.
Well, the ball not hit well, but Franco supplied the 2 RBIs for the Phillies tonight. Looked like he caught this on the end of the bat. If he squares it up and hits it hard, it's probably to the right fielder. But Ichiro can't get there, and Franco picks up another hit and an RBI.
Here's Darren Ruff.
Come on, Franco. Hit one with a chip ball. Franco, hit one with a chip ball.
Ruff an 0 for 2. Game 2. Miami winners in game 1. Fish winning it 7-6, scoring twice in the 9th to win it. And it's been a great night for a lot of Marlins. Front and center is Christian Yelich, who has 8 hits. Next in line is D. Gordon.
And by the way, those 2 will be leading off the 7th inning. D. Gordon will start things, then Christian Yelich.
Gordon had 2 hits to get himself to 200 and 2 stolen bases to take the stolen base crown in the National League in the first game. And he's 2 for 3 in this game to get himself just barely on top of Bryce Harper in the batting race. Brings up Francoeur. And a dangerous guy. The Marlins have seen Francoeur for a long time. This version of the Marlins, this generation of the Marlins, has seen enough of him this year as a Philly to know that he's a dangerous guy, especially on a first pitch. Something that he likes to swing at. Chuck Hernandez.
But you start looking at the last couple of innings, the way Nicolino, first 3 innings, no hits. He retired 9 in a row. Then the home run in the 4th. Phillies got a couple of hits in the 5th, and they've banged out a run on a couple of hits here. And he just issued his first walk, so you'd like to see him get through this inning. They're 2 out. And I would imagine, well, maybe that might be it. But we'll see.
Francoeur now with 2 outs. Francoeur kind of breathing new life into his major league career this year. Spent most of last year in the minor leagues. He pulls that one foul. high pop, and the wind will take it out of play. South Florida Honda dealers for the final time tomorrow. We'll get you ready for a Marlins telecast. 3 o'clock first pitch, 2:30 for Marlins Live. Craig Minervini and Carl Pavano. Preston Wilson will join me for the game.
See how Nicolino throws Frank Coor. There was a time you could go up out of the zone, get him to chase something. You could go change up away, but you want to make sure it's out of the strike zone.
Sometimes out of the strike zone can be in on your hands.
That's right. So that's a good pitch because he's going to swing. If it's close, he's going to swing.
See what he gets. 0-2. Away with a fastball.
It's all right, a little two-seamer. Kept it off the plate.
Cameron Rupp behind Frank Coor. Got him.
Good changeup.
Nicolino with a strikeout of Jeff Francoeur. The stars tonight are coming up. D. Gordon, Christian Yelich. Miami up 4-2. Division and Championship Series. It all begins October 8th on FS1, and it streams live on Fox Sports Go. Philadelphia is cold, windy, and wet, and it's been that way for the last 2 days. But you wouldn't know it from watching D. Gordon and Christian Yelich do their thing tonight. Gordon comes to the plate, 2 for 3 in this one after 2 hits and 2 stolen bases in the first game. Ken Roberts, the lefty.
Yeah, the elements have not bothered D. Gordon and Yelich, and Ken Roberts came in, faced these two guys in the first game, and they each singled.
Gordon takes a strike. So 2 for 3, 331. Gordon, a little ground ball. Franco has it across the diamond in time to get him. So here comes Yelich, 5 hits in the first game, 3 hits here. He's 8 for 8 in this doubleheader. 1914 is the last time there were 9 hits in a doubleheader. That was Bill Terry. So Yelich, an RBI double, an infield single. It was a ball in the hole at short. And a strike.
You know, you can just tell how locked in he is by the way he's taking pitches.
Chopper to first, and Yelich's run ends at 8 consecutive hits. And so there's 2 outs, and here comes Martin Prado. There's your Marlins box score in a 4-2 lead here in Philly. His teammates are on him pretty good.
Yeah, they're having some fun with him. Tough night, Yelly. 8 for 9.
Martin Prado had a big RBI triple to tie the game in the 9th in the first game of the doubleheader. Blanco gets the out, and a quick inning there from Ken Roberts. 4-2 Miami. Philly. The Jack McKeon Celebrity Golf Classic, 3rd annual, to be held at Crandon Golf at Key Biscayne on Wednesday, the 17th of February. Marlins players, coaches, other celebrities. An exciting day of golf. For more information, 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/golf or email foundation@marlins.com. Well, 73 pitches is all that Justin Nicolino has thrown in 6 innings of work. And so the lefty out of Orlando gets the start of the 7th. He gets a strike on Cameron Rupp. Darnell Sweeney chased d'Arnaud for the Phillies. Miami trying to sweep this doubleheader with the last day of the season tomorrow. Hit hard, but Prado's got it. And there's one out.
I tell you, a nice thing to look at when you start looking at Justin Nicolino's lines, his pitching lines from his last few outings. Last time out, 7 innings against Atlanta. He went 6 against the Mets, 7 in Atlanta, 6 against Pittsburgh, 7 2/3 against the Phillies in Miami, 6 2/3 at Milwaukee.
Right center. Ichiro cuts it off. Sweeney stops at first with a 1-out single.
So Nicolino showing some really nice consistency.
Tomorrow, it's the final game of 2015. A couple things about that. Tommy Hutton will be away on assignment, so to speak. Preston Wilson will be by. And tomorrow, of course, it's our tradition, the great rollout set to music, fun. The world's most dangerous tape room has been working on it all month. Well, not this month, all of September.
I hope I won't be embarrassed too much by anything that's on that rollout.
Well, because you're not going to be here. They've added some scenes that were not shown.
Always a must-see
in the original release. This is the director's cut, so they can add some stuff that you might not be proud of. d'Arnaud is up, but that's tomorrow on Marlins Live after the game. Remember, it's a 3 o'clock game, 2:30 for Marlins Live pregame. d'Arnaud pops out. Pitcher spot due up here. Freddie Galvis is swinging a bat. Looks like he'll get the pinch hitting assignment. So that's tomorrow. That's the final game of 2015. The big rollout. I've seen a sneak peek, just a rough draft with some hijinks, hilarity, highlights, all of that. And no animals were harmed in the filming of the year-end rollout. Obligated to say that. Snap throw, Sweeney's back. Dodgers lead the Padres 1-0 in the 4th. Significance of that game. Dodgers win that game, they will have clinched home field over the Mets, who lost twice today. One of those, another no-hitter by Max Scherzer, in case you haven't heard. Scherzer no-hit the Mets. He struck out 17. Last time there were 2 no-hitters in a season was 73. That was Nolan Ryan. Nicolino has it, flips to first in time. Galvis is out, and Justin Nicolino goes 7 strong. 4-2 Miami to the 8th in Philly. What? Pujols has been outstanding. 7 innings. And the lefty, not overpowering, but lots of bad contact, lots of ground balls, lots of pop-ups. And that's when he's at his best.
Reaching for change-ups, in and out. There it is. It's another solid outing. Very impressive has Justin Nicolino been. And if things stay this way, he will finish the season 5-4. And he's been able to lower his earned run average. Right about 4.01. So another 7-inning performance. Nicely done by Justin Nicolino.
You see, JT Realmuto, his catcher, looked like he was lobbying harder than Nicolino for another inning for Nicolino. His ERA is going to end up, Tommy, at 4.01 for his rookie season. Justin Bour's up. And the Phillies have Colton Murray on the mound. And a strike to Bour. Big hit for Bour. 2-run double into center field. Brian Morris in Miami's pen.
You were talking, Rich, about that Dodger-Padre game. Zach Greinke, 4 innings, 1 hit, no runs with that 1-0 lead.
Who do you like, Dodgers or Mets in that series, Tommy Hutton?
Right now, I like the Dodgers the way they're playing, and the way the Mets are lack of hitting. Overall, the Mets have more solid starting pitching, but the Dodgers got the big 2.
1 out on the strikeout of Bour. All season long, you can follow the Marlins, Major League Baseball, or any team for that matter on MLB at Bats. With the app for all your mobile devices, follow the Marlins all season long. MLB.com/@bat. Live look-ins, replays, radio broadcast, StatCast, pitch tracking widgets. Murray misses out to Marcell Ozuna.
I will say one thing, though. With that, and it looks like that series is going to start in L.A. at Dodger Stadium. If for some reason, if somehow the Mets can win one of those games, then I think all of a sudden they're in the driver's seat. I think the Dodgers, starting it at home and pitching Greinke and Kershaw or Kershaw and Greinke, I think they have to win the first 2 games.
2-0 pitch coming to Ozuna. JT Realmuto on deck. Ozuna's hits have been big ones. An RBI single in the 5th inning of this game. He knocked in what would be the game-winning run in the 9th in the first game. That's a foul ball.
I think that's the other thing about Ozuna since his return. Not only have we seen good at-bats, good swings, but he's been productive. And that's what was missing when he got sent to AAA.
Tough hop, and it eats Franco alive. That is one of those balls where I'm glad I'm not an official scorer.
And well, no, it's a base hit. I mean, because it's, as an infielder, as a third baseman, it's do or die. If you turn and spin the way he does, you're just hoping you pick this cleanly. You can't charge to get an easy hop. You can't go back on it. So you have to stay there, get that tough hop, and it's a base hit. So 2 hits, once again, for Marcell Ozuna.
I'm still glad I'm not a official scorer, though.
Well, I am, too.
Because then you wouldn't like me. Liner into center, that's a base hit. That's a clean single, I know that.
You always have broadcasters second-guessing you.
That's right. That's right. It's a real Muto with a single.
Couple of hits
for JT. Ichiro looking for his first hit of the night. He is 0 for 4 across the 2 games, 0 for 3 in this one.
See, an official scorer, it's a thankless job because you're always going to upset somebody. Either the other team, or you might upset the pitcher or the hitter, depending on hit or error.
Ichiro's liner into left center field. Run down there by Altair. Two outs, and here comes Miguel Rojas. Houston leads Arizona 3-0. It's the bottom of the 6th in Arizona. The Angels have crept within a half game of Houston for that second wild card. And they did that by scoring 5 times in the 9th to beat Texas 11-10 in Arlington today. But the Astros can keep that 1-game distance going into tomorrow if they win that game. Now remember, tomorrow every game in Major League Baseball starts at 3 Eastern time. Noon Pacific.
You know, good to see. I'm looking at some box scores. Cubs beat Milwaukee 1-0. Good to see Chris Coughlin had 3 hits, 3 for 4. His playing time's been kind of limited lately.
Rojas a liner into center field. Ozuna around third. He's coming home and he scores. And Miami adds a run and makes it 5-2 here in the 8th.
Very good. You're beating the last place. Very good.
Derek Dietrich will hit for Nicolino. Good swing by Rojas.
Yeah, more good swings, solid approaches by Miguel Rojas.
Miami has banged out 11 hits to go with 5 runs.
Bad weather, Rich, tonight in Atlanta. Cardinals and Braves postponed. Does that mean they'll have a doubleheader tomorrow?
I don't think so. It doesn't affect the Cardinals, right?
No.
And I don't think it affects the Braves. Bob McClure, the pitching coach, is out. So it doesn't look like a pitching change. It may be a ploy to gain some time for the lefty in the bullpen to get loose. Adam Lowen. And not just for Dietrich, because if he reaches, you've got Gordon and then Yelich. Dietrich an 0 for 4 in game 1.
I think, and I'm actually glad not to see Pete Buchanan now come out. I think that's been cut back quite a bit since the commissioners tried to get things sped up a little. You used to see, when you were trying to get a pitcher warmed up, you see that pitching coach go out, then he'd walk back, then he'd get in the dugout, then the manager would come out. And in that time, the guy in the bullpen would have thrown 10, 15 pitches. But I think we've seen that less. Do you agree?
Yes, to an extent. I think it still could be sped up and cleaned up. I think there's a few things they could do to continue the process of speeding the game up, pace of play. I think for the most part the players have actually been pretty good about staying in and around the box and not loitering, and I think pitchers as a group, as a whole, have been pretty good about working quickly. Dietrich shoots that one down the third base line. Franco's throw to first is in time and gets him. But the Marlins add a run, and it's 5-2 in the 8th.
Game 2 of a doubleheader, 5-2. Be sure to stick around after the game. We will have your Marlins Live postgame show presented by Checkers. Preston Wilson and I will be live on the field. We will get you caught up on all of the highlights from today's 2 games. We will also get you taken care of for tomorrow's season finale. Tonight we'll take a look at the day for Christian Yelich and D. Gordon. Huge accomplishments for both of them tonight. That is all coming up on your Marlins Live postgame show presented by Checkers. Guys?
I don't know about you guys, but that's the worst fanatic I've ever seen. and he's in the middle of bongo cam at the same time.
I mean, he's doing a pretty good job.
His hat's only fallen off like 4 times.
Yeah.
There it is. That's bongo cam. Oh, tomorrow's end of the season rollout will feature some bongo cam.
Well, I know Preston was a star on bongo cam when you guys were here right after the All-Star break.
The timing will be right with Preston in the booth tomorrow.
You and I had our moment, I think, last year, the year before.
Yes, made a lot of national sports shows. Of course, not our calls, but just us clowning on bongo cam. Andres Blanco up. Brian Morris in. Bottom 8. Marlins up 5-2.
keep in mind the Marlins go on to win this game. It'll be loss number 99 for the Phillies.
Yeah, the Phillies talked about coming to this series. They wanted to avoid 100 losses, and they just needed one win. And if the Marlins can get these 6 outs, there'll be just one game left in the season. That's their only opportunity to get that one win. 7-6, Miami won the first, and up 5-2 with an out here in the 8th. So it's Justin Nicolino's game to win. The bullpen will try to save it. A.J. Ramos did save game 1. Here's Aaron Altair.
A.J. Ramos may get the opportunity to save this one if it stays 5-2.
That's a nice full day for a closer, isn't it? Closing both ends of a doubleheader.
And it would be nice for A.J. to do it against this ball club in this ballpark, too.
After some rough spots against the Phillies this year. And of course, don't go anywhere, because in the 9th, D. Gordon, Christian Yelich get a couple more at bats. Yelich only has 8 hits today. Gordon has 4.
So right now, D. Gordon at 331. Yelich at 302.
Hit hard, Prado handles and gets the out. I think, too, for Martin Prado, we've talked about watching Yelich in the last 4 months of the season, seeing Ozuna over the last month. I don't know that we got a full snapshot of what Martin Prado is about in the first 3 months, but I think the last 3 months you really see how valuable he is on the field with the glove and with the bat. He's had a really nice second half offensively. And I think once things cleared out, managerial change, and right around mid-June, early July, after some of the trades were made as well, if you were around the club, you could really sense and see that Martin Prado had taken over the club as the leader.
You can see it, too, when you see him in the clubhouse, on the team bus, on the team plane, just see him interacting with all the players.
And that's not Prado consciously doing that. A lot of that is his teammates responding to him. The whole bit where they throw the ball to Prado at third at the end of every inning, regardless of where that last out is made, right field, center field, second base, first base, home plate. That wasn't started by Prado. That was started by his teammates. Swing and a miss, to the point where when Prado went out with the wrist injury, the Marlins would throw the ball to whomever was at third that night, and that player would trot into the dugout and hand it to Prado, who would then give it to a fan.
Yeah, remember, he missed some time tumbling over first base on that shoulder, too.
Morris, another strikeout there, and thus a little toss over to Prado. D. Gordon, Christian Yelich, and Martin Prado coming up in the 9th. Miami up 5-2 in Philly. A terrific day. 2 hits in that first game. Got him to 200. 2 stolen bases. Got him to 58. Christian Yelich, 5 hits in that first game and followed it up with 3 hits to start the second game. He had 8 consecutive hits. He's 3 for 4 now. So Yelich and Gordon and Prado get the lefty, Adam Lowen.
Well, the last time they came to the plate, they got the lefty Roberts. So Lowen will go after him here.
Adam Lowen, a guy that, because of shoulder injuries, decided to end his pitching career. Baltimore Orioles made him a very high draft pick coming out of Canada. Went to the minor leagues as a hitter, outfielder, hit some, but not quite enough to get a job in the big leagues, and now is back as a pitcher. Gordon takes a breaking ball in. Fastball at the knees. The diameter, which measures D. Gordon in the batting race and the stolen base race. Percentage points ahead is Gordon over Harper. Ooh. It was a breaking ball, 77 miles an hour, so hopefully not that painful for D.
And that should keep him ahead of Harper by percentage points.
That's where sometimes I think walks and just getting on base is overlooked in a batting race, and it's something that Harper has done exceptionally well this year. And Gordon gives way to Yelich with D at first. Yelich swings and misses. So 3-0-2 for Yelich.
I got a feeling, and remember, Christian Yelich still just 23. It's the first of many 300 seasons.
Gordon started towards second. Now, you know D. Gordon is thinking about 60 stolen bases. He's at 58. Marlins record for hits in a doubleheader. D. Gordon is running in a rundown. Still in the rundown. And he's out there. And so Gordon caught stealing.
Let's see. Caught stealing goes 1, 3, 6, 3, 4 for the final out. Who was that, Darno? Back to 6, 4-6.
Two-1 to Yelich. Some good run there on that pitch by Lowen. Phillies have Ruff, Francoeur, and Rupp due up in the 9th. And Yelich takes 2-2. The other story in this ball game, Justin Nicolino, 7 innings, 2 runs. Now, the scoreboard had 2 and 2. Yelich is on his way to first.
I think I saw home plate umpire Kerwin Danley hold up 3, because I think the scoreboard was incorrect. So he held up 3 fingers, 3 and 2, prior to that pitch.
Well, then you take the walk.
So Kerwin was on top of his game.
Martin Prado. Fastball misses away. Boras on deck. Dodgers lead over the Padres is 2-1. Top 6. Prado shoots it foul. If the Dodgers win that game, they will have home fields in the division series against the Mets. Boy, Baltimore swept the Yankees 9-2, 4-3.
Machado, home runs in both games, has 35 now.
Houston right now is up 4-1 over Arizona. And Houston at 85 and 75. The Yankees, after losing 2, are 87 and 74. Tapper to third. Franco out there. And a double play turn in time to get the out. Yelich sliding shy of the bag. Blanco with the turn. Bottom of the 9th. Miami trying to sweep the Phils in this doubleheader. Sports Florida is brought to you by your South Florida Honda dealers and by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. I'll bet you that's a very cold place to be in that water right now. It's chilly in Philadelphia. Been windy, and it's supposed to be windy tomorrow, though the temperatures are going to rise, they say. No problem for A.J. Ramos. The kid from Lubbock saved the first game, and here he is trying to save the second game. A little more of a cushion here. 5-2 in the bottom of the 9th. It was a 1-run, 7-6 ball game when he walked in to game 1.
Did a nice job in game 1. Walked one batter, but had a couple of strikeouts in that 9th inning to pick up save number 31.
This is Darren Ruff, who is 0 for 2. Jeff Francoeur and Cameron Ruff are also scheduled to appear. Justin Nicolino started this ball game and pitched quite well. Nicolino continued a very nice September. Seven innings, couple runs. Morris handled the eighth. Nicolino's year-end ERA at 4.01.
Pointed it out when Nicolino was working his last inning. 8 of his 12 starts, 6 or more innings. 4 or 5 of those, 7 or more innings. So he was consistent, and I think we just saw him get more consistent too in each start.
Off-speed pitch buried by Ramos. Rupp strikes out. Here comes Frank Court.
Again, seeing A.J. Ramos use different pitches, different weapons. That time, the big, slow breaking ball.
Frank Court singled in the 5th. Some postseason pitchers being named. Garrett Cole officially will be the wild card starter for the Pirates. They announced today. Jake Arrieta, it sounds like, will be the Cubs man.
That'll be a heck of a matchup.
And the Mets have announced that Jacob deGrom will start Game 1 against the Dodgers.
The DeGrominator at Dodger Stadium.
1-1 pitch. It's a righty on righty changeup.
Hey, Rob, I got my rally cap. I should have taken that one.
Two coming. The wind feels like it's actually calmed down here from mid-game. Although they say, they being the weather folk, that tomorrow it will be windier and that it will get up into the 30s, possibly gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. That would be strike 3 called. Frank Court doesn't like it. Bad on the shoulder.
Yeah, there are not too many fastballs that Frank Court takes.
That's a good point.
So you have to think he might have an argument. You know what? A.J. Ramos is going to take it. It just caught the plate. It was a strike.
Had the plate and at the bottom of the knees. It's where it crosses the front of the plate, and you can see it cross right at knee level. Now Rupp, that one fouled back.
Right here, Amaro Jr.
The good news tomorrow is it doesn't look like any rainfall, at least not in this forecast. Right center field. That's a base hit for Cameron Rupp. And the Phillies will get another bat to the plate. Odubel Herrera is going to come up and hit Herrera hitting in the 7th spot in the order.
Well, we talked about it early on in the first game. Herrera had 3 hits. Has hit over 300 this year against the Marlins. He's really been impressive.
Ramos trying to keep that tying run on deck. It's like Cody Ashe is pulled in on deck. Herrera swings and misses, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, he'd like to keep him from stepping up to the plate.
At all costs.
Hey, what's up, Ashley?
That tapper is going to stay fair. And Herrera, who just stuck the bat out, ends up getting a hit. And it's going to bring Ashe up.
Sign up right here, Carlin, that was a bad call still.
Yeah, he just reaches. Look how far that pitch was off the plate. And it stayed fair. Then no play at all for Martin Prado.
So it's Cody Ashe.
There's the tie right here.
Remember, Ashe had an enormous hit in Game 1, a bases loaded triple that made a 4-0 Marlin lead into a 4-3 lead. Phillies would end up taking the lead in the game. That guy behind him, Hut, is offering, I think, a cold beverage for a home run. Pop up. It will get out of play. This guy had a glove and he lost it in the lights.
Yeah, off the body. Ah, man. I think the guy behind home plate's a long-distance cousin of Dinger.
That guy. He's asking for a 3-run homer. Or maybe he's just showing him how many he drank this inning. 0-2. Almost slipped. He ended that delivery in an awkward spot. Seems to be okay. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out, 5-3 Miami in the 9th. Got him! Change up, and Ramos strikes out Ashe. The Marlins sweep the Phillies in this doubleheader here on a chilly Saturday. Christian Yelich comes 1 hit shy of a major league record, 9 hits in a day. He has to settle for 8. Yelich will be our guest on Marlins Live when we return. 5-2. The Marlins beat the Phillies. Sweep the Phillies. Marlins Live next.